versions of the different characters.
I'm sure Eli.
Crisis.
We're gonna pre-show. We're pre-showing.
Pre-show.
Just talk amongst yourselves. As we
Yes,
talk
that
about
is
what we're
that
gonna
is
do
the
on
reason
show.
why the crisis happened, is because DC is so bad at its own continuity that it
Yeah.
always has to correct itself every
Yep.
year.
They set up a
Exactly.
bad habit for themselves.
They
though.
did.
They
Just
really
keep doing
did.
it.
They really
Yeah,
did.
dude, and they have not stopped.
They really did.
They're
We were-
addicted to retcons at this point.
It's not
Yeah.
even a retcon, because nothing really
It's-
ever changes.
It's the definitional retcon. It's like the ultimate It's the go-to example of a retcon.
Nah, man, it's just putting different colored lipstick on a pig every single time.
Yeah, it's
That's
the
all
same
it is.
pig.
It's always the
I
same
mean-
shit. It's always the same status quo, basically.
Whatever they choose to do after the retcon is immaterial. It's still a retcon. You know.
I mean,
Right.
sure.
Honestly, to me, it's just become a built-in business model. Like that's the difference in Marvel
is.
and DC.
Oh, that's
is
actually really fair. That's
Yeah.
actually really fair.
Marvel-
every 5 to 10 years, we get to just reboot every once in a while.
And it's not
Right.
even a reboot. It's more
Right.
like you said. It's a promotional thing.
Mhm,
You know, it's
mhm.
like, oh, hey, we rebooted. Get back on this train. It sort of
Right.
gives people not an excuse so much, but more of a, I don't know. They're compelled, to see
Yeah.
what's happening
Well, I
now
mean-
because of all the hubbub, and it honestly, it works most of the time.
It's
It's
honestly
worked
a
so
pretty
far.
good idea. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
for someone who's not already in the comic scene, it seems pretty daunting. I'm sure it's like, oh, well, I don't want to start with issue 972. You know.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It's definitely a built-in business model, and that's the difference between, to me, Marvel and DC is
Well,
always
Marvel does reboots all
but
the
it's
time.
different. It's
But
different.
it's not global
No.
publisher-wide reboots. It's more like
Well, they
a
did
Well,
for
yeah,
series
right.
or character or franchise.
They,
reboot.
for a while there, that Marvel Now, Avengers Now era, that they were doing line-wide relaunches.
But it wasn't
and shit.
every book. Like
It wasn't
Guardians of the
every book,
Galaxy
but it
never
was-
even got touched
Right.
by that.
No,
the
no,
Avengers
it
really.
did get touched at one point because it does
Oh.
change numbering at one point.
Oh well,
That might have been
see,
Secret
that's-
Wars.
That's different.
But that's what I was
think
gonna say, though.
renumbering and that shit is
Man,
a
they fucked
different
up Secret
animal.
Wars. Not
Yeah,
the
they did.
event, but everything after Secret Wars. They
Yeah.
screwed up.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, there's
what-
Eli. Hey,
what I was
Eli.
gonna say is
We're
there-
just chatting. We're not doing anything yet.
What
We're
really-
live, but we're
Yeah,
not doing anything.
How's it going, Eli?
What's up, Eli?
Yo,
Yo.
I forgot it was early tonight. Or we
Oh
weren't doing
man, my bad.
7:30.
Blame Leroy.
Oh yeah. 'cause he's-
Leroy will not be joining us. The way he makes it out to seem, he is volunteering at a retirement home.
Oh, that's so nice of him.
That's not what he's doing.
I'm
He's
sure
helping
it's
an
not,
old guy
but-
at work.
Oh,
But if you ask him,
that's
he
what he's
is.
doing.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
So yeah, come back and join us all week long. We're doing all kinds of awesome all week long. But tonight, we're doing our top 5 comic book characters. Let's just do it. Get this show on the road. I should go get my dress up now. I feel like you guys are missing out.
God damn it, Leroy.
That's for sure. For real. For real.
That's the best usage of that one so far.
It really is. It really is. Greetings, geeks. Welcome back to another episode of This Geek in Comics, special edition, our monthly one-off. Top 5 this time around is top 5 comic book characters. Not easy at all. Although I think I had an easier time with this than a lot of the other lists we had to make.
Oh yeah, this was by far the easiest list
yeah.
I had to make. I mean,
Gomer, Adam, Normal, Jules, True, Taylor, and from over the Comic Book Bullies podcast. Please check them out. They're right here on the Facebook channel. Otherwise, I think you can go to outragegeekery.com and find a link. Eli, what's happening, man?
Yo.
Leroy, oh, I didn't know what you were about to do. Oh, lip balm.
Mhm.
It's gotta.
I thought he was taking a bump for a second. I was like, wait, he's about to get off the chain up in here.
He's got to
Partying
do twice
tonight.
the bullying tonight. He's blowing bully
That's
on
right.
tap here.
He's
tonight.
bullying for 2. He's bullying for 2.
Top five. Yeah.
So, again, we are going to do our top 5 comic book characters, but let's go around what makes a good comic book character.
That is a hard question to
that is
answer.
a
I
hard
know,
question
right?
Hard
because a lot
question.
of characters are good for different reasons.
Yeah. In my mind, a good comic book character, at least kind of the way I did my list, is when I'm reading a book and I'm not expecting to see this character in the book. When I see him, my eyebrows go up. You know, I'm like, all right, there's this guy. I love
Sweet.
this guy.
Puck.
Sweet.
Yeah. Fuck
Yes.
yeah. Puck. Yeah.
Exact Puck. If Puck's not on your list, I mean,
Fuck.
I like Puck.
if we're doing top 5 Canadian.
Oh,
You
top
know,
Wolverine's still number 1 on that list.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
even
poor
if you were
Puck.
doing just Canadians, I still don't know if Puck is on my list for that
He'd
one.
make the list. He'd make my
Oh,
list.
I don't know, man. They've introduced a lot of great Canadian characters. since
Captain
Puck.
Canuck.
No.
Oh no.
I mean, you
How's
got
that-
Wolverine and Deadpool, obviously.
Who's that
but,
new
like, you
one
know.
from Champions? Snow something. Snow.
Oh,
she's
I
from
know who
Alaska.
you're talking about.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
She's
she's
from Alaska. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Close.
Close enough.
Close, but
Same
not.
shit.
not.
Yeah. All right, let's get this show on the road. I'm just going to do an honorable mention because I'm not going to do him at the end. Multiple man, Jamie Madrox. And he sucks. He's terrible. He's
Oh, I
literally.
love Jamie.
I like Jamie too, but he's literally been. Okay, in X Corp, he's going to be like the secretary pool.
Right.
At the Hellfire
fucking
Gala
hilarious.
coming up, he's just like the guy, you
The
know.
server,
walking
yeah,
around,
he's like a waiter.
waiting tables. But in the best version of Jamie Madrox, he's able to make all of the choices. You know what I mean? If he's given an option to do more than one thing, he just does all the things, and I love that.
I love that too, because one of my reasons for picking what to me defines the best character is making total use of the medium.
Oh, okay.
The thing about comic books is it could be whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
You're not limited to special effects. You're not limited to sounds. You are limited to art and imagination.
Well, let's get on with it then. My number 5 is Victor Von Doom. First appearance, Fantastic Four, number 5, July 62. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, mostly Jack Kirby, I'd say. And these are all short for me. I do not have long, drawn out explanations for why my characters are my favorite character, or my top 5. But in all of comics and perhaps all of fiction, there's absolutely no villain who is inarguably a villain who is better than you. All right. You can take your Darth Vader, but Darth Vader ended up being a good guy at the end. You know, he made his atonement. Doom atones to no one. There's Cocaine Bear, Taylor.
I love that Cocaine Bear.
I love Cocaine Bear. But yeah, dude, who doesn't fucking love a good villain who's just villainous because, you know, some villains have like this origin story where you understand why they're villains, you know?
I think we lost your.
I think we lost audio.
Okay, so that wasn't just me. Okay,
That
gotcha.
wasn't
Okay,
just
that
me.
was really weird. That was a really awkward pause.
Everybody was checking.
Well, Doctor Doom, it was actually my number 3. I love Doctor Doom because he is the quintessential villain of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
He's always on top. He always finds a way. Even when he gets beaten, it's still just a Doom bot. It's never him. You know, he always
Your
still
number
figures
5
out a way.
as well.
It was my number 3.
Oh, okay.
He's
ahead.
number
Keep going,
2
keep
for
going.
me.
Share to the bullies page.
Is
He
that
ain't
my-
talking
is
to
that-
me.
Nope.
Is that my
Yeah,
homework
talking to
assignment
me.
and shit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your mother
apparently.
ain't even here. He's got shit for you to do. But
I
yeah,
already
Doom-
I haven't even said anything yet. And he's already interrupting me.
Plus, I mean, so Doom is just awesome. He
Yeah.
at one point literally becomes God, and he finds it beneath him. He finds it boring.
Yeah.
And that's just
Yeah, he
awesome.
said-
It's crazy.
Okay, so Doctor Doom is my number 2, and I'll actually start off talking
Nice.
about him by mentioning a snub that I made. Batman is not on my list because Doctor Doom is the better version of Batman.
Batman's not on my
Villainous
list either.
for sure, but okay, so
Well, no,
Dr. Doom is
Batman's
just a
villainous.
normal
We don't
ass-
have to have that argument now.
Shut
but
the fuck
Batman's
up,
a
Boomer.
villain.
But either way, Doctor Doom is just a normal ass guy. He's just a gypsy kid from backwater nowhere, Eastern Europe, who through sheer determination through drive and intellect, has made himself the equal and superior of the biggest, baddest motherfuckers in the Marvel Universe. He is the scariest guy around. He has stomped on Galactus. He has stomped on the Beyonder. He became like the amalgam of every fucking Beyonder. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's riding cocaine bears around in the snow. Come on.
He still cried during 9/11 though, like a bitch though.
He did.
Oh, he did. He did. Well, he was probably like, man, I wish I'd have come up with that plan.
Yeah.
Depending on the writer, Dr. Doom does have like redeeming qualities, but I think he's at his best when he is just unapologetically an asshole.
Without a doubt.
Whatever the fuck
I don't
he
know.
needs to
I like
do
that
to get shit
complexity
done.
about him. I like his relationship with the Reed family. I like his relationship with Valerie, especially, where you know where he actually is kind of fatherly to her. You know, he's actually looks out for her.
Yeah, that's different though. He just wants her. It's like Dr. Evil and Scotty Evil. He just wants her to be as evil as his ass is.
I mean, that depends on the writer, honestly. But okay, so there are two quintessential Doctor Doom moments that I think really define the character for me. One was in Hickman's Avengers run, where they've been building up this like great destroyer, this guy who has been going around like wrecking all of the worlds. He's the master of the Black Swans, and then you finally get to it, and it's Doctor fucking Doom, and of fucking course it is. He's the only character you could have thrown in there, and it doesn't feel like a cop-out. It feels like, of course, I should have realized, you know?
Yeah. It's always Dr. Doom.
He's the one who could actually do it.
He lives up to that hype.
Yes, exactly. 100%.
And then the other one is from actually Mark Millar's run, which is not a good run, but there is a moment in it where like the Master of Doom like throws Victor Von Doom into like the fucking Cretaceous period in like a fucking megalodon. And I'm glad David's not here because I probably got that time slot wrong. But
worse than a dinosaur nerd.
Yeah, fucking megalodons like in the middle of the ocean with no armor, and this like giant mega shark is about to eat him. If that was any other character, I'd be like, well, it's going to be really stupid and contrived when they bring this character back. But when it's Doctor Doom, he's going to be so pissed when he comes back from this. Because you don't doubt for a second that he's got this, you know?
Yeah.
Dr. Doom is just awesome.
Yeah, that's a great choice.
He's never like anybody's heel turn. You know what I mean? He's just the heel. He's the heel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the quintessential villain of all time.
Exactly.
Refers to himself in the first or third person. And
yeah. He is that.
I think I'm going to start doing that.
That Ric Flair that you just fucking love to hate him.
I know, I'm not.
He was on my honorable mentions. He didn't make my list.
He's also
he was on my honorable mention.
It's a great character.
And like third one down, Doom I'd had.
All right. So my number 5, the only DC character on my list, it is Wally West, the Flash. I really like Wally. I love Wally. Wally is one of the few comic book characters who actually was given evolution and growth over time. Yeah. One of the biggest problems with comic book characters is they're always kind of stuck in the same moment in time. You know, they can never really solve all of their problems. They can never really grow up. You know, they're always just stuck where they are. Batman will always be a 30-something white guy, with daddy issues. Like,
it's true.
Always. But Wally, we actually got to see him grow. He was Kid Flash. We got to see him actually become the Flash. He had to deal with living up to Barry's example. We got to see him get married. He had kids. They grew up too a little bit. They didn't grow all the way up, but
no.
But yeah, I mean, Wally was just he was my Flash.
Yeah.
And it's a sad state that he has just been shat on for the last like decade.
Well, he sure has.
Well, that's
they
because...
really
Go ahead.
they did piss away one of their best characters. Wally is my number 3 for all the reasons that you mentioned. He has a genuinely complex and compelling character arc, which is something we so rarely see with comic book characters in general. He had to deal with living up to his mentor's legacy, which a lot of that was kind of like him stuck in his own head, you know? Like Barry was like this god to him, and he couldn't ever feel worthy enough in his own mind. But we see him grow up and become the best Flash ever. Like, canonically, he is the best Flash. The current story arc they're doing right now is about how the Speed Force is choosing him because he is the one most in tune with it. He is the one who has broken through the most barriers with it. So yeah, Wally West is a great fucking character, and DC made a tragic mistake when they just pissed all that away a few years ago.
Jeff Johns and his Silver Age boner had to bring that Barry back.
Allen is not an interesting character. Wally West actually was.
No, Barry Allen is just like
he's a Boy Scout,
man. Yeah,
I mean he's fine. He's fine.
He doesn't have
like
dimensions.
Blanket.
There's not
he's boilerplate superhero, you know?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
You could switch out him with like a dozen others, but that's not true for Wally. Wally actually had some of the best character development ever for any comic book character.
Yeah, 100. Excellent choice.
Great choice.
You're up, Jules.
All right, if you pick another one of mine, I'm gonna get kind of pissed here.
Okay, I don't know.
We're just whittling away at your list.
I will think
one by one.
I'm probably the only person who picked this character, but this character is one of those characters that I absolutely adore because it makes total use of comic books. And before Deadpool ever broke the fourth wall, the sensational, the savage She-Hulk did it first.
Weird choice.
That is an interesting choice.
I love Jennifer
choice.
Walters.
Weird.
She's a really interesting
I'm not saying
character.
bad, yeah.
No, not at all. She was, to me, always more interesting than Bruce. She could control being the Hulk. The only time she actually went savage is when she became too fearful. And fear is a much scarier emotion to have overwhelm you than just anger, because fucking dude, I get pissed off when I stub my toe. I don't want that risk. But she was on the Avengers. She was on the Fantastic Four. Writers like Simon Furman and Peter David and Dan Slott at his best got to work on this character along with Charles Soule. I've loved almost every single run of the character. Dude, I love anime. The idea that she has different forms that she can tap into made her a more interesting Hulk to me always. Bruce is just crazy.
That is a good choice. She is one of the best characters. She's one of the best examples of someone who's as interesting in her civilian life as she is in her superhero life.
She's a fucking lawyer, and she's a better lawyer than Matt Murdock. Read enough fucking cases. I'm not wrong on that one.
Canonically, she beat him when they were like going head to head over like Old Man Cap a few years ago.
Yep. She's actually beaten him in court a few times. At the end of the 70s.
Yeah, okay. 80s. We're talking about superheroes. Okay, comics.
Well, to be fair, Daredevil,
a better lawyer.
Or Matt Murdock.
What is this, Hamilton?
Well, Matt Murdock doesn't become he's not a lawyer to actually be a good lawyer. He's a lawyer to find people to beat the shit out of.
Oh, totally. I said before,
that's fair.
The reason she's on my list is because she's made total use of the medium. The thing about She-Hulk is by breaking the fourth wall, breaking in and out of panels over the course of several runs, using tons of different art forms and to express the stories being told. It's just a fucking amazing character to read. The way she has her own series fit in with the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, whatever team they put her in. She's a great team character to throw in there because it's a Hulk that you can talk to.
She's only a team character.
No, man.
She's had some good runs, man.
She's had some great runs.
She had that Javier Pulido run that was good with the art. But
okay, all of John Byrne's work, that's the whole reason she got put on the team, is he loved drawing her. Where she would literally punch the panel and yell at John Byrne to the point she was like, I don't like where this issue is going.
How do we feel about her new thing where she's whatever? What is she now?
It's an interesting thing for a while, but this is one of those things where I will be glad when we kind of get back to the quote-unquote classic She-Hulk, though.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. But the character has gone through tons of growth in totally different directions. I like She-Hulk. She made my list.
Well, that's not terrible.
I told you. Hey, man. Some of my favorite... Dude, fucking... That's how I first found Simon Furman. I'll be absolutely honest.
Was She-Hulk?
Yeah,
I have another She-Hulk pick.
he
here.
wrote
The new
She-Hulk
one.
right before Peter David did the first time.
That's a terrible pick. Who's
That
next?
is a terrible pick.
That's a
Fuck
terrible
I
you,
think it's a
Gilbert.
terrible pick. I'm sorry. I think that's a terrible pick. She-Hulk is
Terrible picture or terrible pick?
I
by
was saying
list?
terrible
Oh,
picture of She-Hulk.
or both.
both. Oh yeah, that's like the new She-Hulk
Yeah,
That
that's
is.
new shoe.
from Avengers.
Yeah.
I like this one with Greg.
I like that
Land.
one.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
like
good
that one. That's
I
Peter
will
David
say
Dan Slott.
that early on, She-Hulk felt a lot like just cheesecake, kind of like an eye candy sort of character. And there have been arcs, stories where she has come into her own and she has, been good. But in most of those cases, it was when she was showing up in the Fantastic Four and in.
Yeah, but
I
then
don't
you
think
get-
that should rule out a character though. There's lots of
course
great
not. Of
characters.
course
Not at
This
that-
is
all.
best
Could not
character,
hold
not
their
best
own-
comic
yeah.
book runs.
Like
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
gushing about Doctor Doom. I don't think a series about Doctor Doom has a lot of legs to stand on. He
Oh,
works
this
so
one was
much
great.
better.
that's a great
I'm
point.
sure it was, but like
This one was
it can't. I feel like that's not easy to sustain when you're talking about a character like Doctor Doom.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, but on the heels of the way Jules was, explaining why she was on his list. Hey, whatever, man.
Hey man,
All right.
Whatever. All right. We're going around a circle.
Taylor.
All right.
Taylor, number 5.
So my number 5 is one I'm reasonably certain is in a lot of other lists here too, and that is the Master of Magnetism,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Magneto.
Yeah.
Magneto is the best example in comics of the sympathetic villain, the character who
Yeah.
occupies that gray area where he has done some genuinely fucked up stuff, including to people that, he ostensibly cares about, but
Yeah.
he does so for reasons that are hard to argue with. He has a very tragic backstory. He has seen some shit, and you can't really blame the guy for going into a extremist worldview, considering all that he's lived through.
Magneto was right.
Magneto
Oh,
was
Magneto's
right.
totally right. He's my number
Magneto
2.
was right. He's my number 1.
Wow.
As a survivor of
I
the
like how our
Holocaust,
5 and 2 was flipped there, Adam.
right?
Yeah, he's my number 3.
As a survivor of the Holocaust and a mutant, he's like the living, breathing representation of exactly why the X-Men have been and continue to be so important to comics. And he's the embodiment of the kind of comics that I tend to gravitate to, things that have a real world importance. Where
Well,
there's
he was a real
mirror holding up to the real world.
Yeah,
and
he
will always be that.
He was a real departure from the traditional supervillain, because traditionally the supervillain's just like the mustache twirling Dr. Doom, But this is a guy who he legitimately has a beef, and it's a beef that like you can buy into. He has lived through all of this persecution, through multiple eras, through multiple people. He knows what he's talking about. And yeah, he goes about shitty ways to try to bring change, but he is right that change needs to come.
I mean, it goes back to that old, argument about the technique, and the means to the end.
Look,
Sorry,
man,
he's right.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this right now. We're gonna get this out of the way. He's my number 3. I'm Cuban. One man's patriot is another man's terrorist.
Exactly, dude.
And that's kind of the whole point of Magneto.
It's all about winning. Whoever wins the fight.
But everyone feels just in their own personal cause. Just because you don't understand that cause does not mean it's not just to somebody. And that's what Magneto was there for, is just to fuck with your head about that. That not every bad guy is a bad guy. Sometimes you just live on the other side of the fence.
And there's a nature nurture thing there too. The reason he is the way he is
the
because
product of what happened.
He's a product of what
it's
happened.
easy for Charles Xavier to feel more compassion when he grew up in a goddamn mansion. Got an Oxford
Dude, don't get
education.
me started. Don't get me started. I mean, because this is all kind of classism shit that you're bringing into it. And yes, that's another thing that Magneto brings into the fold.
That's not to necessarily say that one is right and one is wrong, but that is a compelling part of both of those characters, especially Magneto.
I don't know of another villain, and he's, again, I use the word villain very loosely.
Heel.
Yeah, he's a heel, I guess. But I can't think of another character that comes close to having that same sort of importance to the inherent who that character is. You know what I mean? Maybe Mr. Freeze. I want to call him Dr. Freeze again. Maybe Mr. Freeze, because he does have that personal sort of thing where he was driven into villainy because of outside factors. But
right. I'll throw Megatron out there for you.
Okay.
For an IDW run, but that is the only other guy I can think of.
Nobody's gonna get that. Though.
Nobody's gonna get
only
that.
In the top row of this is gonna understand why Megatron is that guy. But
one thing about Magneto that's kind of interesting, and something else that I think is going to come back up again later on. This is a character that wasn't really cool until Chris Claremont got his hands on him.
Magneto.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, smash that like button, everybody. Get in that chat. Cool, excellent choice.
He didn't make my list, but another one on my honorable
Great choice.
mentions.
And who is on Eli's list?
I know.
Find out right now.
Let's
find out.
Yeah. I'm not an X-Men fan, but out of all the X-Men, Magneto's the only one that really, or him and Wolverine, the only ones that I really give a shit about. So
nice.
Magneto is the only mutant on my list, I will say. And there's a lot of X-Men I love, but no Wolvie for me.
There'll be another one. All right, Eli, you are up.
My number 5. Now I just picked shit that I like.
Awesome. That's what you should do.
I didn't really put much. I like that because I read that. I like this because I read that.
Yep.
Nice.
My number 5, the Kent Crusader. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
I was about to.
But what if it was the Kent Crusader?
Oh,
if it was Batman?
No, it's not.
We'd have a long chat. We would have a long chat.
I just want to see the look on your faces. No, it's Marv from Sin City.
Oh, dope.
Great character.
Okay, yeah.
Great fucking character.
Yeah, no shit.
Tragic anti-hero. Just from a series that I loved. This is when I got out of high school, I kind of got, senior, junior year, I'm getting tired of these superheroes, kiddie shit. And then I happened upon Indie Comics, and Sin Cities was one of the first ones that I got onto, and just like, wow, this is comics not only just about superheroes and shit, they can be about cool shit,
That is a transition that you made going into Sin City there.
It is a big transition going.
Crime and shit.
Yeah.
Dirty.
So this is like a crime noir. The art was all German expressionism, shadows and contrast. Totally fit in the mood. It was all about the mood. And then you had this character. The first Sin City story was about Marv, and this loser, big barbarian, basically a Conan in a trench coat, which is what Frank Miller described him as.
Yeah.
And just a big brute who fell in love with a hooker that only got with him for protection. And then his determination. He wasn't smart. He's kind of dim-witted. He's on medication. He's half insane and shit. And just through pure determination and will, he brings down all this corrupt shit going on in the city. And of course dies in the end. But even when they kill him, he doesn't. They got to zap him twice he's like, hey, he's just so stubborn and brutal that they had to fucking shock him twice.
Have to zap him twice. Yeah.
He's just a total
bastard.
Total badass in the end. Let's get this over with. I mean, just dialogue. I mean, the way Frank Miller, I mean, he came up with Dark Knight and Daredevil, perfecting those inner voices, those gritty inner city criminal voices, and hearing Marv talk and my mitts and he's got so many cool, the hell I bring him, or the hell I put him through, or will seem like heaven when I'm done with them.
Yeah,
I love you, Goldie. I mean, it's poetry. So I just love this big, giant, lovable lug. And
he was one of the first characters of his kind, and it started a trend in that direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if I'd have a list, at least a complete list, without Marv first happening. You know what I mean? And helping comics to grow up in a different way than the traditional superheroes and capes and shit like that.
Yeah. And he came back. He kept, even though he died in that first story, he kept showing up in later in flashbacks or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, he helps out Dwight in Dame to Kill For, you know. And like I said, he's just a badass. I mean, like I said, you know, his dialogue, hey, Dwight's like, hey, Marv, I need your help. It means going up against a lot of guns. He says, oh, sure, count me in. Damn, Nancy's looking good tonight. Like all in the same sentence, you know.
Yeah.
Just doesn't give it, okay, cool. That's my buddy Dwight. You hurt my pal. You know. Badass. So
Badass.
Awesome choice.
Good
It's
choice.
back to me. Number 4. We're running right through these. My number 4 is Spider-Man. Peter Parker, first appearance, Amazing Fantasy number 15.
That's my number 4.
Awesome.
Oh.
Lee and Ditko in 62, but also Miles Morales, Ultimate Fallout number 4, August 2011. Bendis and Sarah.
Okay, so I only have one more person to put on my list now because this is actually my number 1.
It's my number 1 as well.
My number 1 as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That just killed all 3 of us.
Yep. Knock it off. Right
I
now.
knew this was going to happen with these lists.
Oh
I knew this was
yeah,
gonna happen.
absolutely.
It was a good chance, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fucking Spider-Man.
Spider-Man to me is cool because like he feels like a reflection of the reader.
He's the
You know?
quintessential hero fantasy. He
Mhm.
is
Yes.
the young boy
Mhm.
who gets superpowers, and it's like, what would I do if I got superpowers? I'd probably do what Spider-Man does, just swing around and try to make money selling pictures of myself. And I don't know, man. Like he's the quintessential superhero fantasy for young boys back in the day. And
it's
even
still-
now,
Yeah,
Miles
even
Morales is a
now.
perfect update
Yep.
for Spider-Man.
Yeah. He just feels relatable to
Well,
me. Whenever
he
I
is,
see
yeah.
Spider-Man, it's like I don't see like this hero. I see, and I know he's not, he's not a pussy. He's a
No.
bad. He's one of the strongest, agile. He's got all these great stats.
He's
when
the
I see
king
him,
of the
I don't-
middleweight class.
Yeah, I don't really see the hero Spider-Man. I just see a normal guy who, has the power to do something nice and to do the right thing. And, WWJD, what would Spider-Man do is kind of, a mantra, just be a nice guy, be a great guy. In the movie, the latest movie, he's giving directions, to people and shit like that. I feel like that is the heart of the character, And over the years, Spider-Man has just gotten so huge and so big that they have him fighting intergalactic monsters and shit like that. But that street level Spider-Man is still the guy who I see when I see
Right,
Spider-Man.
because when you think of Spider-Man, you don't think of him stopping like Galactus or anything. You think of him stopping the mugger at the end of the street.
Yeah.
And giving the old lady her purse back.
Running into the burning building, shit like that.
Yeah,
really
honestly,
relatable shit.
One of the best parts about Spider-Man that makes him kind of solely unique is that when you think of Spider-Man, one of the first things you always think of him losing. He loses like the first time he fights a villain. It's never that he just wins that first time and then they're just gone.
And he makes mistakes.
He makes mistakes.
Yeah,
He sucks
just
at
like
his real
normal
life.
people would make mistakes.
He's not good at anything. He's bad at being a student. He's bad at being a friend.
A boyfriend.
He's bad at being a boyfriend. He's bad at being a nephew. He's bad at his job. He's bad at being Spider-Man. We can all relate because when you try to do too fucking much, you get stretched thin, and then you lose the fight to the villain.
That's another aspect.
That's
of
an
it.
important point. That's an important point to make. There is that's a choice he's making. He's choosing to sacrifice a lot of things that would make him personally happier because he feels compelled to do the right thing. It's important that he gets his start not stepping up and then reaping the consequences of that. That does kind of position him very uniquely within the superhero world, that he's not just innately, infallible, like like a Superman or something is. And Spider-Man really does hit a great sweet spot in a lot of ways. He's powerful and he's a thrill to watch. He can do amazing, spectacular things, but he's not, like Thor or Hulk or someone who's like, what the fuck's going to hurt Spider-Man? Come on. No, Spider-Man can't get hurt. Spider-Man can bleed. And that makes the stories compelling in that way.
And not only that, but the things that hurt him most are not getting beat up by the bad guy. You know what I mean? It's him missing his date and him knowing he's going to miss his date. I've always said Spider-Man's, Peter Parker anyway, Spider-Man, even though he's got one of the best rogues gallery, arguably the best rogues gallery in comics, his main
that could be another top 5 sometime.
It's
Right.
It's himself. Yeah.
Is Peter Parker. Spider-Man's arch nemesis is Peter Parker. And that's how I feel in my life. I am my own fucking worst enemy.
Something
You
I
know,
always
and I
thought
think a
neat.
lot of people feel that way.
I think his worst enemy, the one who's done the most damage to him over the years, is actually J. Jonah Jameson, and that makes him a pretty fun supporting character in that way.
Sure, yeah.
But he also hits this other sweet
And
spot.
that's his boss. But let's just say that in the traditional story, that's his boss.
And your
So
boss is
again,
always
that's a lot.
fucking
That's
you.
very
That's your-
relatable.
That's
you
a
know?
real
That's true,
villain.
yeah.
That's the real life villain in everyone's
But-
story is their boss.
Yeah.
That's true. But he also hits this sweet spot where, like, he's fallible. He makes mistakes. His very first story, he makes the worst mistake of his life.
Yeah.
He messes up a lot, but he's still a good person. He's always trying to do the right thing. And it's aspirational in a way that even a character like Superman never can be, because he is a character who pays a consequence for doing the right thing, but he doesn't let that stop him. And that
It's
makes
hard to-
him probably the most compelling character in comics, at least
It's
for a lot of
hard
people.
to relate to a Superman. It's hard to
Right,
relate.
he's God.
It's hard to relate to, Batman. It's hard to relate to these characters. But Spider-Man, it's almost impossible not to be able to relate to him. You know what I mean? Eli, Spider-Man. He's on your list?
Yeah, my number 4.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, he's the neurotic kid who's constantly in over his head, constantly can never catch a break. You actually almost care about what's the non-superhero shit that's going on.
Yes.
Than him fighting, superhero villains and shit like that.
I mean, like, he's going in there to deck the lizard, but he's missing Aunt May's birthday, or
or something, or the date. I mean, and that's both. That's Peter Parker, Miles Morales. He's basically embodies that teenage superhero motif that we see in so many comics now. The Miss Marvel. The what we got? Invincible's the new hot shit now. That's the same shit. A kid with superpowers dealing with school and a girlfriend and all this shit. And that's what Spider-Man is. Just a kid who can never catch a break. You know?
I like the way you said that, because Spider-Man is one of those definitive characters. He's one of those characters that so many other characters owe so much of who they are to Spider-Man, like Kamala Khan.
How many?
I think she's a great at it
out there.
Oh yeah,
literally and
either directly or indirectly. Yeah,
probably more than Superman, and there's a lot of Superman.
And to be fair, the reason Spider-Man was created is because Stan Lee fucking hated the idea of Robin. I don't know if you guys know that story.
Yeah.
He hates Robin because at 14, 15, you're a fucking person. You have a mind of your own. You would not blindly follow orders from this crazy prick. And so, as a 40-year-old man, as he was about to leave comic books, his wife said, why don't you just fucking do that story you're always talking about? Because he would shit all over Robin.
Yeah.
And that's the reason Spider-Man's fucking 14.
It's also the reason we have a Marvel universe, really.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely. Amazing Fantasy.
Out of all
also the
of
reason
the Marvel
we have
characters.
the Winter Soldier very specifically there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Out of all of the Marvel characters, I think Peter Parker Spider-Man is, the most important to there actually being a Marvel universe.
I mean, for sure. I mean,
we were talking about earlier about Doctor Doom being the ultimate bad guy. If there was an ultimate good guy in the Marvel universe, it's Spider-Man.
Yeah, 100%.
He's also one of the 3 characters that absolutely everyone on Earth knows.
Yep.
And you don't get to be that popular for no good reason.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent choice, Gomer. Adam. I told you I'm going to start doing the Doctor Doom.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Adam. Number
I mean,
4.
someone's got to tell you good job, right?
Yeah.
Number 4, Captain America.
Nice.
I love that
great
pick. I'm
choice.
glad he's on here somewhere.
Captain America is actually my number 3 pick.
Oh.
I like Captain America because honestly, so one of the best things about comic books is unlike other mediums, they talk about things, but comics, they talk about things that are going on right now. And there is no way you can not get political when your costume is literally wearing the red, white, and blue, the stars and stripes.
Yeah. If your
And so-
debut, if you're punching a political leader of a country
in the face in your debut issue.
your book is
But-
going to be political forever.
Before the country ever goes to war.
Dude, months before. Yes.
Months.
Right?
Most
Yes.
people miss that detail. Like, we
Most
were not
people
at
miss
war
that
with
detail.
Germany.
We were
when that
not
issue
at
came out.
war with Germany. The Howling Commandos went Inglorious Bastard style first before
Yeah.
the entire nation
Mhm.
declared war. Cap was punching Nazis.
Mhm.
The first appearance
So-
of Steve Rogers was March 1941, Captain America Comics #1, Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Just saying.
Yeah, but yeah, I love Captain America. He always has something to say. And he's the leader of the Marvel universe. I mean, he keeps all the good guys together,
Yeah.
except for when they're civil warring.
Yeah, well, I
he
actually
fucks that
have
up
a touch on
every
that as
time.
well. For me, it's not just Steve Rogers. You know what I mean? When I say
No.
Captain America makes my top.
Oh yeah, there's
My
tons of
three.
Captain Americas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Captain
Yeah.
America represents an ideal more than I think any other comic book character. And there's sort of a persistent nature of the medium, you know what I mean, of comics, because it's always going. Captain America might be, 80 years old, but he's not. He's 30 forever. So it makes it so that he can evolve, change, and grow just like the American ideal that he represents, for better or worse, because this
Mhm.
happened in the comics as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Punisher is Captain America, for better or worse. This is probably one of my favorite panels, or scenes. Captain America beating the shit out of Punisher, and Frank's like,
Mhm.
"No, I'm not going to hit you back."
Mhm.
Even the most sociopathic guy in the Marvel universe looks up to Captain America because of the ideal that he represents. And man, he's just.
Plus-
I mean, we just got
plus,
done with
just
an
throwing this
entire
out there,
show.
Throwing this out there,
About
that Ed
this.
Brubaker run is some of the best
Yeah.
comics you can ever read.
Yeah.
So just go out there and read that shit.
I'm glad you brought that up because he did a great job positioning Steve Rogers as a much more complex character. Him having to grapple with the burden
Mhm.
of wearing the stars and stripes, of being this aspirational figure
Right.
representing the ideals of an entire country,
And what happens when the country that you are representing all of a sudden goes on a track that you don't agree with?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, this character transcends comics because that's something that we have to struggle with in real life.
Yes.
Is our shortcomings in reality living up
Mhm.
to the ideals that we set for ourselves? If Cap is those ideals, we do have to reckon with the fact that we are not living up to them.
Exactly. And Cap does that himself, within those books. Sometimes even he second guesses what he's doing. A Civil War is, certainly he goes back and forth 3 or 4 times throughout that, but it's always been, he went nomad, for a
Mhm.
while.
Man without a
during the
country.
Nixon administration, he struggles with what that American ideal is, just like we do.
Mhm.
And it's just, it's great. It's great choice. Awesome choice, Adam.
Great choice.
That's nobody else has that on their list, just me and Adam.
I don't have Cap
Honorable.
on my list, but it'll make sense when we get to my number 4.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Jules, number 4.
My number 4 is the Invincible Iron Man.
Oh my gosh.
I love the metaphor that Iron Man is always represented as talking about comic books.
You better talk fast, Jules, before Gomer starts up his eat the rich
Okay.
shit.
Well, here's why. Because
Billionaires are not heroes. I'm sorry.
Billionaires are
They're
not heroes. No,
He didn't say best heroes. He said
I
best
did say
character.
best
I
comic
know.
book character. I've never thought of Iron Man as a superhero. He's a comic book character.
Yeah.
He's a guy who used
He's
to make
actively not a hero in that book. a
no,
lot of times.
actively. I was just gonna say the best part of the story is if you pay attention, he's the biggest villain of Iron Man. What is the story? The story is the man used to make arms, and then he decided he
Yeah,
didn't want to make
weapons.
arms one day, so he makes a weapon. And because he made this weapon, people are making arms based on this weapon. So now he's trying to destroy all these new arms based on this. Do you see what I'm saying? He's always
I do.
creating the next problem. He's always escalating the next issue.
You
Iron
relate to
Man-
that a little
N-
bit too much.
No, I mean you can and you can't.
Hello.
Iron Man's a metaphor on 2 levels. We are always our worst villain. We always create our problems.
Sure,
We're literally
sure.
always destroying our own lives from the inside out. One of the best runs of Iron Man is when Tony's too fucked up on pills and alcohol, and Rhodey has to put on the suit and pretend to be Iron Man for the Avengers. There's even a bit where Cap starts to realize all of a sudden fucking Iron Man has a tactical mind and he can't figure it out. It's because fucking Tony never served and Rhodey did. I like Iron Man because, unlike other characters at the time, people of multiple colors have been Iron Man first and done it for long stints. T'Challa's been Iron Man. Rhodey's been Iron Man.
That was a pretty good run.
Yeah, man.
I love that cover.
I like Iron Man because he is a giant metaphor.
He's a pissant. He's such a
You're not supposed to like
maniac.
That's the point.
That being said, he does have his redeeming qualities. He is genuinely trying to do the right thing. Arguably more so than even Spider-Man, Iron Man is a great example of someone who is constantly struggling for his past mistakes. He's constantly trying to atone.
And making more mistakes in its wake.
He does so very imperfectly, but there is a genuine effort there. There is a genuine desire to do the right thing.
See, to me, Iron Man is like the other side to me of Doctor Doom, where he is almost the bad guy. He is just that far from the edge, because if you think about everything that Iron Man does, especially in the Illuminati, within Civil War, during the Initiative, he is really the worst guy.
I was actually on Tony's side during the Civil War.
I was too, but that's the thing about Iron Man is that he's almost the villain of every story if you really think about it.
And I understand what you're saying, because I'll talk about Civil War. Everything that he said was right, but the methods he used to prove that point were just 100% wrong.
Right, but that's real life. You could be all the way in the right and do all the wrong things for the right reasons. People do that.
Yeah, that's the same. That's the same thing you're celebrating Magneto for.
Exactly.
I am, but Magneto wasn't.
Gomer's bullshit.
No, bullshit. Just because you laughs at me doesn't mean that Adam was right. Okay.
Okay, my new number 4 pick is Adam for destroying Gomer.
Iron Man was born into a life of extravagance.
Oh, absolutely. I've never said he was
the
hero.
Anti-Magneto.
He is the anti-Magneto.
He is.
Okay.
He is. He's the anti-Doom. He's the antithesis of both characters.
But I think that the world would be better off if there was no Iron Man.
But that's the thing. That's what makes Iron Man interesting, is that his escalation has made the Marvel Universe so
his own ego won't allow there to not be an Iron Man.
Exactly. I love it, man.
I hate that answer. I hate that answer.
You go fuck yourself.
You have hated almost all of Jules's list.
I hate that choice. Asshole. Oh yeah, I hate that choice.
Except for all the other picks that have already been said at this point. I take from Jules's list.
Yeah, fuck you. You love fucking Robert Downey Jr.
I don't mind Robert Downey Jr.
Who doesn't love Robert Downey Jr.?
But if we're talking MCU Iron Man, the MCU would definitely be better off without Iron Man. If he'd have died in the fucking desert, the MCU would have been way better.
I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that.
Oh, fuck you, Gomer. That's a
Go ahead, shit. Taylor. Go ahead.
All right.
We're still on number 4.
Sokovia would be a lot better.
Yeah, it would still be there.
I mentioned a moment ago that Captain America did not make my list, and I wanted him to be on it. But there's another character who occupies that same space, and if we're being perfectly honest, he is the iconic and better choice for it, Superman.
Well, that's a good choice.
Superman is the definitive superhero. He is the measuring stick to which every other character measures themselves. Not just historically, there wouldn't even be a superhero genre without him, but both in the publication history and also within the context of the DC universe, he is the icon that everyone else looks up to. He is what other people strive to be. That is an important role to be playing. But even beyond that, okay, so it's true that it's hard to write a Superman story where he's like legitimately challenged. He's ridiculously OP. There's never really a realistic shot of him losing a battle. But a lot of writers have told some very compelling stories without focusing on that aspect of it. You can tell great Superman stories focusing on him being a god trying to live in the world of men. You can tell a great story about him forever being an outsider from another world, even as he is also quintessentially the most human character around.
Why are you throwing up the Bendis run?
Why am I what?
Yeah, what the
Why are
fuck?
you throwing up
I'm talking
the Bendis run? Throw up the good Superman.
Yeah, show me a
There you
good
go.
Superman.
I love
Get some
this
All-Star on
cover.
here.
I really
Great
like
cover.
this cover. I really like this cover.
But then also
But
he
yeah,
has
you're
that whole
right.
Captain America thing where he is struggling to do the right thing. He has a great sense of morality, but he does struggle to understand how far he should go in order to help the world. You know, Lex Luthor brings up that whole thing about, like, is he doing more harm by getting humanity to rely on him? And that does make for compelling stories. But Superman is the most important superhero of all time. He's the
I
most
agree with
recognizable
that.
superhero of all time, and he is legitimately one of the best.
I agree with that. Superman to me has always, I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head, you know, because I have always disagreed with a man who doesn't have to sleep, with a man who can literally be anywhere in the world in, you know, a moment's notice and can fix whatever problem, you know, he finds there. And they've done this in the comics and, you know, famously in the movies, where he hovers just, you know, above Earth's atmosphere and can hear everything going on and can find the problems. I have a problem with that guy not doing more. Injustice kind of touched on that, but I don't think you have to go fucking ape shit crazy, dumb crazy to be able to do more.
Well, he is a
And
hard
in my
character to
opinion,
write
Superman
because
doesn't do enough.
they're still trying to create drama, right? They're still trying to tell a
Yeah.
story. If Superman instantly solves every problem, there's no story.
There's got to be
And
enough
that
crime
does
for the
make him
rest of
hard
the
to use.
superheroes.
That does make him hard
Yeah.
to use. And yeah, to me, that just doesn't, I don't know. I understand what you're saying.
get that,
Historically, it's impossible to take anything away from Superman. Everything about him is iconic. I mean, literally everything. People don't just know who Superman is. They know his alter ego. They know his symbol. They know the glasses. They know the girlfriend. They know a lot more about Superman than just Superman. But as a character, I am not a fan of Superman because
I'm not going to die on that hill. He is a hard.
Yeah.
He is OP, and that is problematic. But still, I feel like I would be negligent not to mention the most important comic book character of all time.
Touche.
That's true. Oh, you mean Batman? Eli.
Fuck you, Superman. Did anybody pick Batman? I'm
No,
getting
I
that no
don't
one
know.
has Batman.
I don't have.
The Dark
don't have
Knight,
that.
my next pick.
Is it Batman?
No,
No,
he's fucking with.
I-
I knew it. I was like, no, he's
I didn't
fucking
think
with you.
so.
Nobody
I
picked
didn't think
Batman.
my next pick is the Punisher.
Nice.
Awesome.
Great fucking choice.
This is the only one we all knew would be on your list.
Yeah, everybody get out your bingo cards.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. This would be
Um,
like the free space on the bingo card.
Yeah.
And just because, you know, he started out as a Rambo ripoff, you know, let's have a dude with guns, you know, mowing down countless enemies, you know, give him a generic, you know, revenge origin, just like Batman or whoever, you know. And but as he went on, once Garth Ennis got a hold of him, he became more of a force of nature. He became like he became like a tornado that you can't control. And
one of my favorite Punisher runs actually is there's a Greg Rucka run where the Punisher really isn't even a character in the book. He's just like a force of nature that everybody else has to deal with in the book.
Yeah. I mean, Garth Ennis took the character and made him a sort of a critique on. I mentioned this before, a critique on American violence and American military might, and by taking him back to Vietnam and having him, you know, suggest that he was always a psychopath. You know, he is a psychopath, and that was always inherently in him. That the war just brought it out from him. But there's also moments you see that Garth Ennis gives the Punisher where he becomes disillusioned with America, with you know, with the military, and questions what they're doing. And you know, just like in Full Metal Jacket, one of my favorite parts in Full Metal Jacket is when they're doing the interviews. And I think it's Animal Mother. One of the characters says, "I think we're shooting the wrong people." You know, where they become so, you know, disillusioned with why are we doing this? Why are we here? You know, and the Punisher's kind of takes that as part of his mission. I'm a psychopath. I know it. I'm only here to kill people, but I'm going to kill the people that need to be killed. And there you go. And that's all he is. And I love him for it. So
no, I love the Punisher because
pick.
he opens up that door in the Marvel universe that this is more can be closer to home, because that's the whole point of the Marvel universe, is that there are characters that are inherently similar to real life. And the Punisher opens that dark door that some people are kind of afraid to go down. And that's one of the best thing about comic books is we can explore that dark door. He's that character that you can talk about PTSD for soldiers. You can talk about war as hell. You can talk about conversations people don't know how to have. And also, he's just that character that you just like, you can relate to in a fucked up way. And that's okay that you can relate to just having all these fucking issues and just not knowing how to deal with them.
Yeah, you can root for a psychopath.
You could root for a psychopath. That's like the fucked up thing about comic books is it could be fucking anything.
And people can get all on their, self-righteous moral high horses. Oh my God, he's a murderer. He's a scumbag. Batman or the Daredevil or Spider-Man will never murder people and blah, blah, blah. But that's what I love about Punisher, because he points out the contradictions in those characters' stories.
Exactly.
He's like,
exactly.
He operates outside of the law. He knows he's breaking the law, and he kills the villains. Whereas Spider-Man and Batman and Daredevil, they are working outside the law as well. They know the system's broken, especially Matt Murdock.
Especially
they know
Matt
the
Murdock.
system. They know it's a flawed system. They go out, get the villains, but then leave their fate to the very flawed system that they're breaking. So,
I mean, to be fair, I think in the real world, they would totally execute the fucking Joker.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a bit of a contrived for the stories. But.
Well, no, he's crazy, man. You can't. No, he would. Yeah.
Fuck that. Who cares? After he's broken out and killed billions of people,
you just got to put him down. Got to put him down.
Yeah, the Punisher.
Buy a better door for the prison cell. Okay, that's really all you need. I like Punisher. One of my favorite characters. He did not make my list. Is an honorable mention, but I like him because of. I guess it's not his original, story, but the way it deals with the failures of the system and the victims of that system after it has failed. Because Frank is an example of how the system failed over and over and over again. It failed to protect his mind, his sensibilities when he was at war. It put him in a position where it made his, underlying psychosis come out and be a benefit. And then when he gets back, and his family is murdered, and the system doesn't fix that, he has to feel that. He is compelled to fix that system. And I think he represents the frustration and the rage that we all sort of have in regards to that system, in some ways. We talked about Captain America, and I brought up this where, Cap and Frank are having their little tiff during Civil War. If anything, Frank is the anti-Cap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's
the
Steve Rogers. Yeah, go ahead, Eli.
He's the product of American violence, of American military might.
Yeah.
Historically,
but Steve Rogers is too, kind of in his own way.
Well, that's the thing is actually, I think it's in Fraction's run, because he did the other side of that conversation where he says, yes, you talked that big game because you boys won your war.
Yeah.
That's always been the thing. Is like, yeah, Cap, you got to win the war. You died the hero. We lost. I represent that violent rage.
He came back from Nam and was he became everything that everybody was saying that he was.
Exactly.
And
man, that's one of those badass things about him being a comic book character, is you could have that conversation with him and Captain America, and it's metaphorical on every level.
Yeah, I think that's one of. Go ahead, Eli. Sorry.
Oh, and that's what I like about Ennis's run, because he uses the Punisher to critique, the American military involvement in everything, American violence, the history of American violence, and the history of the military, and what that's like America's go-to solution is just let's bomb the shit out of whoever or whatever,
and
violence,
not just that. I think he sort of brings that same mentality to the streets, to our neighborhoods, in terms of over policing and things like that. And they've even touched on it in the comics. It wasn't Al Ewing's run, was it? It may have been Al Ewing's, or maybe Rosenberg's, the end of Rosenberg's run, where he meets some cops and the cops have a Punisher logo, and he's like, "No, you ain't me. You made an oath. I didn't make no oath. You are not me, and you're supposed to serve." And
how it pissed off everybody.
Yes. Exactly.
If you read Ennis's run, he fucking hates cops.
Exactly.
Because they feed into the system.
They are mechanisms of the system.
Dude, if you've read any of Ways or Ennis's run, you know that Punisher fucking hates cops.
Yeah. I think that's what makes for a good anti-hero is you have to understand why they are the way that they are, and they have to be sympathetic. And I think out of all of them, Frank's entire backstory and his history is so real and so, just entrenched in reality that you can't help but feel bad for him and really understand why he does what he does.
Yeah. Like Ennis came out and did, was it a few years ago? He came back and wrote that, the Valley Forge book.
Oh yeah.
Which was about the soldiers that were stationed with Frank in the war. And they were basically interviewing, the soldiers, that journalist or whatever. And there's talking about how Frank was, but, again, critiquing, the military and all those soldiers were questioning, why were we there? What purpose did we serve when going there? And it just, again, using it as a way to, criticize Americans' history of violence.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the Punisher,
Yeah.
And just watching a guy blow away the bad guys.
I mean, a lot of people, exactly.
That's the real reason, but there's layers to it.
A lot of people hated the War Machine arc where he got the War Machine armor.
I thought it was
I thought it was fucking great because it compounds that, we're going to give this military, a dude suffering from PTSD who wants nothing but to make up for the loss of war, give him a War Machine armor to go do more war. It's not a good idea. I just love that
technically Frank Castle's been Iron Man and Captain America.
Yeah, that's damn.
And it's funny, especially about that War Machine run. Like he kills, doesn't he kill the Mandarin and then goes and takes on Zemo and Fury they're all trying to okay, you're gonna start a war with with all these nations and shit.
And the thing about it is, he's like, no, you started the fucking war. I'm trying to finish it.
This is your shit. You gave this shit to me, asshole. What am I doing? This isn't me. I'm just living. This is your country doing this shit.
Yeah, it's your life. I'm just living in it.
You just got caught.
I'm a soldier in your war. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Just perfect.
Great choice.
Great choice. Is this back to me? What number are we on?
3.
My third was Captain America. We've already talked about Cap.
Yep.
So, there you go.
My 3 was Dr. Doom. I already talked about Doom.
Nice.
This is going to get pretty fast from here on out.
I know, right? I know.
Eli, get ready.
Yeah, I was going to say, because my 3 was Magneto.
My 3 was Punisher. Yeah.
Oh, my 3 was Wally West.
Okay.
All right. So, I have Wally. I have Magneto. Okay, so Magneto, Wally, and we're right back to you, Eli, for
my number 2.
Is it number 2 or 3?
Yeah. No, my 3 was Punisher.
Okay.
4 was Spider-Man.
4 was Spider-Man. Yeah. 4 was Spider-Man. 5 was Marv. So my number 2.
Whatever.
Yeah, my number 2. My number 2, the Defender of Gotham. Dude,
every time you've done it, I've been like, oh, really? You've gotten me every
He's getting the graphic ready. Batman's coming.
Number 1, Eli.
No, for real. It is Batman.
Is it? Okay, there we go.
It would have been wrong for Batman to not be on this list.
It's true. We would be wrong.
Oh, that's not Batman. Sorry. That's Batman.
And just because he's pretty much
he's
one
fucking
of the
Batman.
reasons. It's Batman.
He's the
pretty much
GD Batman.
the goddamn. That's fucking right.
Uh,
No, just because as a kid, I mean, my love for Batman fucking predates Star Wars. I mean, I grew up, loving Batman. I was watching the 66 series. Yes, I'm that old, not 66 old, but
Right. Reruns.
I was a kid I was a little kid in the 70s, in the late 70s, watching the Hulk and Batman. But I get it. I'm not into Batman when he's part of the Justice League or when he's got all 1,000 books on the shelves every month and he's got this team and that team. I like Batman in Gotham on his own, just fighting crime. That's all.
Yeah,
I love
like Detective Comics. We all can agree we love the Detective Comics version of Batman in terms of him solving crime.
Yeah, I love Gotham sort of being this like especially in the animated series where it's like this almost like otherworldly, like almost like a fantasy realm. It's this fantasy urban realm where just these fucked up characters exist, and you need this, rich asshole to put on a suit and kick some ass, And he's, you can say he's beating up the poor folk. When you bring in the real world into Batman, yes, you ruin the
ruins
fun.
him.
It ruins the fucking fun.
It almost has like a Rob Liefeld chest there.
It is.
That's Jim Lee, isn't it? Isn't that Jim Lee?
Batman is a good example of a character that you have to approach with a suspension of disbelief, because yes, it's true that he could probably spend money on like community centers and do more good that way, but that's not why we're fucking here. God damn it!
Yeah,
Batman is undeniably cool. Batman is probably the coolest character we've said so far.
No one wants to read a comic about Batman or Bruce Wayne doing fundraisers in the hood. No one wants to see that shit. No, we want to see a guy dress up like Dracula and kick the shit out of bad guys, and that's all.
The only reason Batman does not make my list is because I am brown and he is culturally appropriated. Zorro predates Batman by like 2 decades. So I love Batman.
Zorro didn't have no batarangs. I don't know.
It's true. He had a whip though, man.
He had a whip, which he used like a grappling hook.
He also had a Batmobile.
If we're pulling at that thread, Batman's also a rip-off of the Shadow. He's also a rip-off of like Doc Savage. He's also a rip-off of fucking Robin Hood.
But Superman's like fucking Hercules and
true enough.
That's true.
Everybody's got
to pull up that thread. That's
we don't. But he's specifically Zorro because Zorro was a rich dude who had a secret lair and wore a big black cape.
My only problem with Batman is when you bring in the reality of all of the terrible things that Batman does, and I have a list that
terrible things.
Billionaires are not heroes.
You got Magneto and Dr. Doom on your list,
but Batman. No, you're right.
Shit.
Batman's
never tried to do genocide ever.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that Batman's never committed genocide on any scale.
So Gomer, you need to spare us.
No,
right
but he
now.
has.
I know.
There have been a few fascist states founded by Batman, though.
I mean, dude, so as Superman, if we're going to talk about fascism.
I mean,
I said earlier that I didn't have
30 years old for 80 years. Yeah, what do you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
I said earlier that I did not have Batman on my list because I had Dr. Doom instead. And a lot of this stuff I said about Dr. Doom does apply to Batman. He's just a normal ass dude who has made himself the equal of gods and Superman and fucking Green Lantern and all these other like big, badass, super powerful characters. Batman stands shoulder to shoulder and often stands above them. Through sheer force of determination, he has made himself into like the perfect fighter, the perfect detective. He's just undeniably a cool character. He's not quite aspirational because you can't quite
he's
his backstory. He's rich, he's unachievable, and you can't sympathize with that backstory of his. It's like, more tragic than anything anyone else is going to, experience. But he's a damn cool character and definitely an honorable mention from me.
Yeah,
I
if
won't
I
take
had
anything.
$1 billion and I had the means to go be,
Fuck yeah, you be Batman.
train myself for 20 years to be the ultimate
dead in a
ninja. Yeah.
Yeah. First time I tried to grapple off of a skyscraper, I just fall to my death.
Yeah.
Paradoxically, characters like Batman are actually the least realistic. Because like that fucking grappling gun he uses, not possible. Like him doing all this without getting killed, not possible.
Him being able to drive the Batmobile into a city of millions of people without hitting a traffic
New
jam,
York City
totally
traffic.
unrealistic. Yeah. But that's really my main beef with Batman. Okay, he adopts little kids and uses them as human shields.
He doesn't use them as human shields. You need to look at.
Here's the thing.
Okay,
He
about
so for
doesn't use
Batman,
those human shields. He
you have-
indoctrinates them into his army
They're
of
child soldiers,
crime
get it right.
fighters.
Yep. At the end of the day,
Okay,
the thing about Batman is he's a fucking comic book character.
Sure.
And sometimes
You
with a
have to
comic book,
withdraw
you
the
could just
cynicism
fucking
from
have
this thing.
fun.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah.
end of the day,
Characters.
Batman is fucking fun, man.
Yeah.
Is Batman
Characters
problematic
cool.
in the real world? Absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
You have to
It's
look
not
at
the
it
real
in
world.
context.
Hey.
Where
Yes.
like he's helping these kids cope with their own tragedies. He's
Yeah.
training them to like a good cause that they seem to be perfectly on board with. Would that
He's
be
also getting
problematic in the
beaten
real
to
world?
death with
Absolutely.
crowbars.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he is. But
Yeah.
that's the fans' fault. They voted on that.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, they say they look back, and if you look at it, one dude called a lot,
Yeah,
and
it
if
was-
they actually made it the rules the
Yeah.
way it was supposed to, Jason was supposed to live, but they also just said, fuck him.
Yeah.
Hey,
Who's that guy
people
who
like-
like single-handedly killed Jason Todd?
Yes,
Fuck that
right.
guy.
Right.
no. People love Freddy Krueger and don't give a shit about what a fucking pedo piece of shit he is.
It's true.
Well,
Yeah.
he's supposed to be the bad guy, though.
It's true.
And that's an important
People,
distinction.
but they made fucking.
Hey, man,
you know, 8
people
movies
love
with-
fucking the Joker,
He
and that
became a
dude is a
comic book
literal
character.
mass murderer.
Yeah.
Again, supposed to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
True.
So,
Yeah, all my problems with Batman are real world problems. You know.
You got to withdraw the cynicism from it. You got to look at it.
It's a comic
like,
book.
Yeah.
Half of what we read only exists
at least
because
he's not
Batman
a
happened.
Nazi.
Yeah.
He's talking
Like
about
that
the fucking X-Men. How the X-Men
Yeah,
are
like the
fascists
X-Men.
now.
I know they
Yeah.
are.
They are
pretty
now.
much. They are. They are.
I'm removing myself from the reality of the comic. Okay.
Okay, easy.
Batman
easy.
isn't suffering from PTSD.
You can't be. You
He's
can't be no
totally
pixie
healthy.
cuties. You can't
Oh,
be no
fuck
pixie
you,
cuties.
Gomer.
Us
They're
mutants
different
are
universe.
segregationists now. We're gonna
Yeah,
go make
right.
our own.
All right.
Mutants only. Only
Uh,
mutants allowed to drink from this water fountain.
It's fucking true. I'm not gonna take anything away. I have to remove myself from the reality that yes, mutants are now Nazis.
But Nazi mutants are apparently the best mutants. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's great.
They're awesome,
really-
aren't they? Yeah.
Fascism has really reinvigorated the X line, if we're being perfectly honest.
I mean, to be fair, it's not really.
It's created
Nazi-
a nation with the fucking
It's
council
not, it's
with
not.
Magneto and and Sinister on the council.
Well,
and
I was
shit.
gonna say,
Apocalypse.
I don't see it
Apocalypse on the council.
as Nazis is more as just like the nation of Islam. I feel is the metaphor there more.
I don't know.
I don't know, man. A lot of what the rhetoric
All right,
is.
we're
is
getting
very the same.
Yeah, we're getting deep.
We're getting deep.
into the weeds.
Deep.
My number 2. We're up to number 2, right?
Yeah.
Wolverine. Look,
That's my number 2 too.
Hey,
James-
he made my honorable mentions. Didn't quite make the
Nice.
list. No.
first appearance was a cameo in Hulk 180, 74, and full appearance 181. Roy Thomas, Len Wein, and John Romita Sr. He's the best there is at what he does. And what he does is always a retcon. Okay. More
Fair
than
enough.
any other character in comics, Logan's past and his history are his present.
Mhm.
He went from a guy with knife gloves, in a Hulk comic to at one point he was actually a mutated animal.
Oh yeah,
Right?
when he kept de-evolving.
Yeah. No,
When,
one of his original origins was he
Oh,
was
you're
just
right,
going to
he
be a
was supposed to be an
Wolverine
animal.
who
Yeah.
mutated into a man. He makes my list because he is unique in all of comics, perhaps all of fiction. Because he's been made new, his character has grown, has moved forward by the readership and Logan getting to know his past.
Mhm.
And it's inherent to comics in a way that no other mediums can get close to, and probably shouldn't. It wouldn't work. You know what I mean? Delivering a character like this to an audience wouldn't work in any other medium. But for Logan, it works. I mean, all the other characters that I've had who have multiple representations of characters with that name, Wolverine does, but Laura doesn't come close to being, Logan in that context. We know her whole story. But he's just been established and then reestablished just over and over again. And it always just fucking works.
Yeah.
It always
in that
just
sense,
works.
he's the ultimate representation of the X-Men as a whole because his continuity is such a goddamn clusterfuck.
It is, and I love it. I love it, man.
But no, Wolverine is a great character. He kind of like occupies the same space in the Punisher in a sense that he does have this cynical bent to him. He does have this edge to him that you don't normally get in mainline superhero books.
Yeah.
So much to the point that he never really gets to cut loose unless it's in his own comic, because he would just be ripping motherfuckers apart in the X-Men books, and they can't really show that in the X-Men books.
Yeah, I mean, he's got
or
a
they
great
often
costume.
don't, at least.
Yeah, he's got a great costume, great mutant power. The adamantium is dope. The claws are, really cool. His whole anti-hero shtick, has been copied and, he stole it, but he makes my list and is so high because he represents a facet of the medium, a way to tell stories that are inherent to comics that you simply cannot do in other mediums because it just wouldn't work. You can't put out a book and introduce a character and say, hey, this is the character, and then come back with a second issue and say, well, no, or a second novel and be like, oh, well, no, this wasn't. He's actually done this.
Yeah. Well, TV
All
shows
that
and
backstory I
movies
told you
don't
before
have
was
the
bullshit.
legs.
This is the real backstory.
They don't last
Yes.
long enough for that to be a thing. Yeah.
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 Honestly,
Yeah.
why he's, to me, one of the most important characters is because he represents the way comic books can have tone shifts in characters, the way you do in real life. Wolverine to Kitty Pryde is totally different to what Wolverine Max is like.
Yeah.
Wolverine having always this like sort of Padawan learner in his learning tree in the X-Men, and him being kind of that wise, grumpy old man that always tells everybody Storm is the real leader and constantly undermines Cyclops is totally different from the dude who fucking murders ninjas.
Right.
Because he's got so much fucking rage.
Well,
Because
I
he doesn't know shit about himself.
Well, I think that's the appeal of his character. He's constantly struggling with who he is and what he is. He doesn't like what he is or what he can do.
No, not at all.
He gets his humanity through others, through these kids.
Yeah. That's well said. Yeah. He is the ultimate hard-boiled character, but we do get that he is trying to do good in the world. He is trying to, at the very least, keep people from going down and having to suffer what he has suffered. You see that with his various mentorships, like you were saying, the various proteges he's had over the years.
Yeah, man. That's what makes Wolverine so fucking cool, is that he's so different in different things. Wolverine on the Avengers is different from Wolverine in the X-Men, is different from Wolverine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's such a multi-layered character within the storytelling.
Not really the leadership type. Even though he makes a damn good leader, but
he makes a good in the field leader. I don't think he's a good at home base.
He's great.
And he would be the first one to tell you that too.
Yeah.
And but he mouths off to all the leaders. He tells everybody exactly what they need to hear.
He's not afraid to speak truth to power. Maybe some of that stems from he's been around and he's seen it all, and he can recognize bullshit when he sees it. And also the fact that they cannot kill him.
And he's got a Punisher, vibe to him. He's got a Captain America sort of vibe to him. You know what I mean? He's been around and fighting so long. But none of that happened when he was originally introduced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, once again, this is a character who would be way different if it wasn't for Chris Claremont.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
Oh, yes, for sure. I think that's all X-Men.
Wasn't Wolverine in Secret Wars where they were talking about terrorists or something? And he said, well, you mean terrorists are just like the poor folks with the smaller army?
Yes. Yes.
I think that was Wolverine who said that.
Yeah, it is. It's Wolverine who says that. Yeah.
So that's
that quote I paraphrased earlier. One man's terrorist is another man's patriot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, I believe, from that Wolverine dialogue.
Yeah. And I mean, he's got kids, and he didn't know he had kids, and then he banged all these people and didn't realize that he had, and we learned. It's just I don't know.
When you've been around for like 200 years,
but
you're
it's
gonna
great
end up
that he
having
don't
banged
remember.
a lot of people.
Yeah, it's just I love it. I
And
love
again,
it so much.
like Batman, he's just fucking cool.
He's
Yeah,
just
he is.
and he's
He's
just
just
fucking
cool.
cool.
I know it. Unlike
Yes.
Batman,
I mean,
Wolverine
cool
has
is cool
more
is cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
cool costumes than I think any other character in terms of, other than maybe that first costume. Wolverine's had a lot of really cool looks. I love
I mean,
the brown.
I
don't mind the
look.
whiskers.
The main reason why I like Wolverine was because he was the coolest guy on that 90s cartoon.
He
Yeah.
was. He's fucking
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Clint
is your
Eastwood
favorite
with
Wolverine
claws?
costume?
Yes, very good. Well, and that's got to be Leroy. He's gonna spit his top 5 at some point. He's getting paid to do this, so he might as well, do
Might as
something.
well. Might as well.
That was my number 2, Adam. I think he's done. I think you
Yeah,
named
my
them
number
all.
2 was Magneto.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Magneto. That's from Magneto Testament. It's still one of my favorite Magneto stories.
It's amazing.
It's just a terrific origin story.
That's my
So, yeah,
clone
go.
in there, I guess.
Yeah.
My favorite picture of Magneto isn't actually a picture of Magneto. It's Zorn, standing in the wreckage with the glowing hand and everything.
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing about Magneto. He's had all kind. Remember when his name was Max Eisenhart?
Yeah. That
You
was the
shouldn't-
clone, though,
you
right?
shouldn't- I think that ended up being a clone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was the clone. That
But
was
it's
the
What
one
was
that
his good guy
rotated.
clone, Joseph from Onslaught?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
weird, dude.
Yes.
It's weird. Comics are awesome, but
Comics are
Eric
awesome.
Winshare, that's
Yeah.
that's his name now.
Magnus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Magnus.
His middle name's supposed to be Magnus.
Yeah.
Eric Magnus Lensher.
Jules number 2.
My number 2
on
was
the
Wolverine.
nose.
Another Wolverine.
Yeah, my
he's
number
the
2 was
best.
Wolverine. Brown and tan forever.
Yeah,
That's my favorite Wolverine.
I like the brown and tan.
I like
That-
Wolverine with the brown. Yeah.
Yeah, the
I like the
uh,
whiskers. The whiskers are cool. The
whiskers
original
are cool,
with
but
the big belt. I think that's
brown and
cool.
tan to me is symbolic of 2 artists, which are Frank Miller
Oh, sure.
and Mark Silvestri. As
Oh,
they
okay.
when they both were on Wolverine, that is what Wolverine wore. And
My
brown and
favorite-
tan kills the most ninjas, man.
My favorite
Brown and
thing that
tan.
Wolverine wears are blue jeans and that jacket.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
with
the
the
cowboy hat.
The cowboy
Yeah,
hat.
Yeah, the cowboy hat. I love
And
that
the
shit.
cigar.
That's a good look for him. I mean,
Yeah.
It is.
honestly, I wish
can't
more
bel-
video games would make that an unlockable costume because that is
Right?
a cool look for him.
Yeah.
He rocks
Oh
it.
yeah.
No,
I can't
another
pull that
thing-
shit off. I've tried. I can't pull that shit
Well,
off. I
he's
look
fucking
terrible.
Canadian, and
Exactly.
that's the
Yeah.
point of that whole costume is that he's
And
fucking
yeah.
Canadian.
And
Yeah.
again, back to this whole thing where, he keeps being reinvented.
Mhm.
Me being native, there was a story where
Yeah.
Wolverine speaks Lakota. Like he falls
Yeah.
in line with the Blackfeet tribe and then he fights a shitty version of Unchekla, but
Yeah.
it was still natives can claim
Yeah, because
Wolverine
they
as
can,
one of our
because-
own,
Nice.
Yes, when he
Nice.
leaves the woods and goes quote unquote feral, what that whole plot was is that's what he does that whole period of time before he
Yeah.
comes back.
Yeah. Man, I'm looking at my list. Most
Love
of my
Wolverine.
most of my list are not Americans. I only have Spider-Man and Captain
Spider-Man.
America, and they're both from the same neighborhood. Close.
Well,
Close.
No,
One
no.
train,
West
one
is
train.
American.
Whoa,
Spider-Man is
One
American.
train ride
Brooklyn,
away.
Brooklyn
One
and
train
Queens
away.
will argue. Brooklyn and
Shut-
Queens will argue.
One train away. One train away.
Would we consider Superman American? Because on the one hand, he's obviously not American. He's from Krypton. But on the other
Yeah.
hand,
He's
he
an
is,
illegal immigrant.
truth,
he's an illegal
justice, in the
immigrant.
American way.
He's an illegal immigrant.
I wish they would touch on that more in comics, man.
What, him being
With
an illegal immigrant?
With
Oh,
Superman.
yeah.
Wasn't that the premise of American Alien from a
Oh,
few
this
years ago?
motherfucker.
Yes.
I'm so glad he's not here. I'm so glad he's not here.
Manga would be its own top 5.
Oh, yeah.
That
yeah.
would be its own top 5.
Well, he's talking about
Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Silver Fox.
And he always had. Yeah, Wolverine always had a girlfriend. Always had.
He's always been in that comic that that I was referring to. He actually was banging the hot native chick in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only current Wolverine girlfriend we've ever seen is Storm.
Yeah.
Any other girlfriend he's ever had has been a
Well,
flashback.
currently
who's
we've
dead.
got Jean.
Oh yeah, and now we have Jean.
And Jean.
but-
They're part of the thruple. Yeah.
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 I fucking love
Gene
that.
Gene and Cyclops. Yeah, those
Love
are his
that.
girlfriends.
I love that so
Yep.
much.
Those are his girlfriends. He
Cyclops
does
is
fight
inarguably
with
their
Cyclops.
forerunner.
His
Oh, that-
girlfriend
he's-
too. No.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
All right, that was Jules number 2. We're up to
That's my
number
next
2 for
two.
Taylor. I think he already said his number 2
Doctor
as well.
fucking Doom.
Oh yeah.
Dr. fucking Doom. No way around. Oh, I'm bringing up Cocaine Bear again.
Oh, God, love that Cocaine Bear.
Love that so much. And that was actually a really good run. I think that was PKJ doing that run.
Mhm.
But yeah, excellent choice. Dr. Doom is the shit. So I think, Eli, you did your number 2.
Number 2 was Batman.
Batman.
So we're on number 1s. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're on number 1. I'll start. Magneto was my number 1.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we've already
That's
done
a great
that.
choice.
And then Spider-Man, I think, was
Yep.
mine, Jules,
And
and
mine.
Taylor's.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
Get
wow.
through that one really quick.
Yeah. So So that's it. All we got
That's
is
it.
Eli doing his number 1.
Let's do
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's you, bro.
Yeah.
We had so
Oh.
much overlap, and I
We
knew
were
we were
stepping
going
on
to.
each other's toes a lot tonight.
I knew we were going to. I knew we
Hey.
were going to.
My number 1 is the Hulk.
Nice.
Great
Awesome.
character.
Again,
Oh, yeah.
the first. Yeah, there you go. The first comic. Well, not the first. No, the first comic series that I started regularly following every month was G.I. Joe. But then it was the Hulk.
Cool.
As
Fuck
a
yeah,
kid.
yeah.
And I said, "Oh, these are I can
Larry
read these
Tampa.
every month." And I used to be scared of the Hulk. Like I said, I was a little kid. That TV show would come on. I would get scared. I was that shit scared me. And when I realized, oh, he's a comic book,
Mhm.
and that he's a good guy, that
Mhm.
always kind of stuck with
Yeah.
me. And I was always I was a monster guy. I like the monsters
Yeah,
and
yeah.
friendly monsters. Chewbacca, he's a monster, but he's
Sure.
a good monster. And this
Yeah.
was, as a kid, that always sort of had an impression on me. Oh, he's this big, screaming, ugly dude, but he's a good guy. And then just as a kid, watching him beat up other monsters was basically the formula it was.
Mhm.
After a while, they started getting into the psychology. And the reason why he's on my number 1 now is because Immortal Hulk.
Yeah.
Sure.
Immortal Hulk really
Hell of a
elevated. Yeah, it really elevated what Peter David was doing as far as the
Mhm.
psychology of the
Mhm.
Hulk and getting to the root of his anger, getting to the root of his pain, and all those different. Is he though? Is he what? The
Is he
shit?
what?
Yes, he is.
He is the shit.
He is.
But getting to the root
Except for Maestro.
of his trauma, and all the different personalities, and just taking the Hulk myth and just running wild with it, turning it into like John Carpenter's The Thing and
Yeah.
Cronenberg shit. It's just, it's just crazy,
The Hulk does work in a lot of ways. He's a monster story. He's this tragic, sympathetic figure. He's this kick-ass, super strong guy who just punches monsters in the dick. He works in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of flexibility to the character, and he does kind of speak. There was, I think it was Time Magazine or something like that, was ranked him and Spider-Man as some of the biggest counterculture icons of the 1960s.
Yeah. Is Hulk a good guy? I say yes, he is a good guy.
Depends on the writer, though.
It
Bruce
does depend on the
Banner
writer.
hell?
was supposed to be the good guy originally, and the Hulk
Yeah.
was supposed to be the bad guy originally. But
See, I
if,
see it as
hold on. If
Go
as
ahead.
time has gone on, it's kind of been the opposite at points.
yes.
Bruce Banner is sometimes the bad guy, and Hulk is the good guy.
he was.
Well, I see
either
it
way,
as
he was
Sometimes
sympath-
they're both the good
Yeah.
guy.
When I
sometimes
first-
Hulk is
both
one of
the
those
bad
characters
guy.
where
Yeah.
it's genuinely more complicated than that
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
Yes.
the best way to describe Bruce Banner isn't really good or evil. It's fucked up.
Yeah, because
he's sympathetic because, especially in the early runs, he just wanted to be left alone.
yeah,
And he kept
because
trying to escape, and fucking Thunderbolt.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
was
Ross
just gonna
kept
say,
chasing him. Everyone kept fucking with him. He was just trying to be left alone because he didn't want to fuck anything up. But
No,
he kept running into
exactly.
shit where he had to fight, and he had to throw down with another evil monster that was trying to do harm. You know,
That's what's great about the Hulk is the military is the bad guy at points. The
Yeah.
monsters are the bad guy. The thing about the Hulk, and the pun is on purpose, there's a lot of shades of gray within the story. Because everyone's sort of doing everything for quote unquote the right reasons, but nobody really understands where anyone's coming from. And intent plays a lot into what the Hulk is doing. People see a monster destroying things, but you, the reader, know that he's trying to protect people from this other thing. But that's not what the perception of him is. He's just seen as a monster.
and then building on Peter David's run, who established, shout out to Lou Ferrigno, the only human to ever play the Hulk.
It's true.
But building on Peter David's notion of the trauma, his dad being a dick and all that shit, And then Immortal Hulk dealing, the whole the one below all, and just going to the source of all anger was just mind blowing.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite moments in the Immortal Hulk run was when they are in hell, and Banner and the Hulk are talking, and the Hulk is talking about, it's like, hey man, I know you always hated me. I know I've fucked shit up your whole life, and I've done a lot of damage, and I know you have every reason to hate me. But you know what I was trying to do? I was trying to protect you the whole time. And I thought that was was so heartwarming and like gave me shivers. Like that's the crux of it. Like, and that's like back to PTSD. Like that's anxiety.
Yeah.
I mean, an anxiety attack is your fight or flight trying to like, hey, warn you to protect you and stuff. So there's so much layers to that, and he probably would have been lower on my list, even though I've been a fan of him all my life. But I think the Immortal Hulk really elevated.
Yeah,
elevated this character.
Peter David and Al Ewing had these runs where it's a rising tide. They almost retroactively made a lot of the old Hulk stories way better in context. That Savage Hulk going around just wanting to be left alone. That hits a different way with Al Ewing's run, where you see that he's a scared child who doesn't want to be hurt by anyone.
And just like a couple was it a month ago, that couple issues ago, where the UFOs are beating the shit out of him, like you're beating the shit out of a kid when you think about it.
Oh yeah, especially that issue with the Thing, where the Thing was like wailing on
yeah. Like you're beating the shit out of a child. So.
I always like Hulk as the Jekyll and Hyde sort of character, you know, where it's the Hulk is inside all of us. I don't know if everybody has anger issues, but when I was coming up, I had anger issues, and I would just, you could just snap and become a different person who does things that you would otherwise not in a million years do, and once you're done, once you calm down, once you settle down, you still have to live with the repercussions of what you did.
Oh yeah, that's one of the
you
best
feel terrible about it, and to me that's when you boil Hulk down, that's why I really like the Hulk.
Oh, absolutely.
I was gonna say
the best part about Peter David's run was the idea the Hulk has always been there. That Bruce had always had anger issues, and that there were incidences that he'd start to remember when the Hulk would take over for too long. And he remembered times where he became the Hulk before the accident in college and high school. He would have these blackouts where he would do something violent. And the idea was that the Hulk had always been there in his head. That there is a part of us that we cut off ourselves from, or like to think isn't a part of ourselves. We think it's something else.
Yeah, there's that whole theology and the psychology of we all have a different side, and I related to it. I mean, I got anger issues. I mean, shit, I'm still playing death metal in my 40s and shit. I'm aggro as fuck. So I've always related to the notion I could like snap, and keeping myself from snapping and letting the beast out has always been a struggle of mine.
Hulk works as a psychological examination. He works as a power fantasy. He works as
horror.
A horror
monster
character.
Horror. Yeah.
He's got a lot of versatility. Maybe more versatile than any other character we've mentioned so far.
It's true.
He's fantasy. He's science fiction. Fucking
Planet Leroy, if you're still in the chat, are you gonna pop your top 3? Because we're almost
said Goku's is number 1.
Oh, geez, man! If I could slap someone digitally.
Goku's not even the best character in Dragon Ball.
It's true. It's Vegeta.
I thought Superman would definitely be his number 1. I figured.
If I'm going to give a top 5 of our top 5s, Eli's definitely has the best.
He's got the best one.
He has the best, the most diverse list. And Jules has the worst. I'm sorry.
I knew you were going to say that.
What the fuck?
Fuck you, Gomer. Fuck you.
Come on. She-Hulk?
Yeah, I fucking love She-Hulk, man.
Can we really rank our list when we all practically had the same?
I know.
List?
Well, me and Adam definitely
a little bit of variation.
Yeah,
I got one zinger in on Gomer, so I count this as a win.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Adam wins tonight.
Any honorable mentions? Go ahead and spit out your honorable mentions.
We've mentioned several that it would be honorable mentions for me. I'll throw another one to Ben Grimm, the most compelling member of the Fantastic Four.
Cool.
Great one.
I'll throw out a couple of Vertigo / DC guys. Swamp Thing and John Constantine by
He was
extension.
on an
Nice.
honorable mention.
Honorable mention.
I love that
Nice.
horror shit.
Yep.
They do a lot of trying to do a lot of philosophizing about what it means to be a man in the Swamp Thing stuff.
Yep.
Plus, just Constantine is just he's one of the best bastards
Right.
in comic books.
He is a magnificent bastard.
I
Great
could go big deep cuts for me are just about the entire Lost Light crew from Transformers More Than Meets the Eye, but Megatron, he was kind of touched on earlier in the IDW run is
But now
brilliant.
I almost put Snake Eyes on my list, but then I was like,
Oh,
he's a
man.
That
toy.
would be a good pick.
Snake Eyes is a great pick. Blair Hama forever.
And that's why I was like, okay, if you're putting Transformers and they only made these
Larry
comics
Hama
to
forever.
sell toys,
Yeah.
I was that's why I didn't put them on there.
Man,
If we were doing my favorite characters, I would have gotten Thor in there somewhere, and I do think he's a good character. But
nice.
I almost put Conan, but he's not really. He didn't start as a comic book.
Yeah, and the Star Wars stuff. It's hard to like.
Thor didn't
you know-
start as a comic book character.
No, he's technically a mythology.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
sure.
not even. He was
People
a
were
religion.
literally
is
worshiping him thousands of years
significantly
ago.
different from mythology.
Yes. But honorable mentions: Black Panther, Daredevil.
Nice.
Daredevil was almost on my
Storm
list.
almost made
Storm
my list, but
almost
it was
made my
so
list.
X-Men heavy, dude.
Woo!
I love
almost
Storm.
had a-
You know, my favorite Storm is Morlock Storm. When she's
Mm.
doing
With the
for the
mohawk?
people who need the fucking help. I love that version of her, dude. I love it.
Big fan.
Yeah.
I had Doom, of course, Magneto.
Yeah.
I had Michonne from Walking Dead. But I
Nice.
didn't-
That's
a good
great
one.
That's a
comic
solid
book
pick,
character.
man.
She was cool
Raphael
for a
from the
while.
Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah.
And
If
then-
I was doing Ninja Turtles, I would probably put Master Splinter from the Ninja
Ooh.
Turtles.
Yeah.
The complicated
especially
character.
in the comics, man. It was. I just remember reading TMNT and not agreeing with any of the guys, any of the four guys. You know, from time to time, I'd be like, "No, y'all are wrong," and then Splinter would come in with this other point of view.
The Miyagi-Do way.
Yeah, dude, like
Yeah.
Mr. Miyagi type
Honestly,
shit, man.
that's what's made the curtain run so great is when Splinter pulls an Xavier and it's like, whoa, Splinter, you're
Yeah.
wrong. When he
Yeah.
becomes head of the foot and starts like controlling crime, and they're like, but it's still crime.
yeah.
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 Splinter's a really cool character.
I had Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider.
Yep.
And Hellboy. Hellboy almost made my list.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had it on there, but then he got
That would have
bumped
been a good
off.
pick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hellboy is
But
a good
he
pick.
almost, and the only reason why I didn't put him on there because I haven't finished it, and I think I'm purposely not
You don't want to finish.
delaying it because I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I
I
mean?
get that.
But that's Hellboy's a great example of what you can do with comic books, what you could do with the medium as far as the art style, and similar to Sin City as far as that, the moody, contrasty expressionism art style
Nice.
that Mike Mignola doing. But also, Mike, you can tell that Hellboy is personal to Mike Mignola.
Mhm.
That you can tell he's actually expressing personal shit through that character. So
Yeah. Awesome. Any other honorable mentions?
Oh, Martha Washington. I just threw that on that.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah.
Another Frank.
Why the
I
fuck
figured
not?
Marv is already on my Frank Miller shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Leroy's not in the chat anymore. His only one that he called out was Goku as number
He
one.
just
I'm
keeps
sure
finding new and
Superman-
interesting ways to disappoint us here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a wrap then. Great
That's it.
list. I knew we were gonna have a lot of overlap.
A lot of overlap.
I mean,
Well,
they're the
characters
best for
are
their
for
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, there was no way you can't. I don't know. Spider-Man. I mean,
Three of us
Hulk,
pick Spider-Man, but that's just an indication that Spider-Man is doing something right.
right.
Well, his
right.
book is not, but
Oh yeah, his
No,
book is
Spider-Man the
well,
character is.
Nonstop's
The
good.
character as a
Nonstop
character.
is doing it right.
Yeah, Nonstop is very good.
And Miles is doing it right.
Every
right now.
character we've
Yeah.
mentioned has been in some shitty runs, guys. That's just the
It's
nature
so
of
true.
Thanks everybody for hanging out, tagging along. We're gonna do another one of these. We're not sure what the next top 5 is gonna be, but search out the Comic Book Bullies. I think if you go to outrightgeekery.com, they'll find the link up there. They stream on this Facebook page, this Facebook channel all the time, but they're also on YouTube and all those other social media. Definitely go search them out, find them. Great stuff every week. You think I listen to 4 or 5 podcasts a week? You guys are the only ones who talked about Shock G. The only fucking one. The
Wow.
only one, man. He was kind of a fucking comic book character in his own right. You know what I mean? With the different shit he did. And
I mean, you have a podcast, Gomer. You could talk about him if you wanted to.
No, well, I knew you guys were like, who the fuck's Shock G? And I'd be like, Humpty Hump. You're like, oh yeah, Humpty Hump. Go to OurGeeky.com.
Well, we could have had that conversation.
We could
like
have.
We're having it right now.
Go to OurGeeky.com. We have just no website, just a bunch of links to different
anybody like their oatmeal lumpy?
Yeah. A bunch of links to all our social media, our Patreon, our merch page if you're so inclined. So yeah, keep coming back. We're gonna have a Geekterion collection.
Next week, Jules and I will be here for Marketplace. So
yeah, for the wrestling show next week. Eli, I think we've decided that it is on either you or Leroy for the next Geekterion.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be me, but I won't be here.
He won't be here next month. He's got all kinds of shit to do.
Well, I think I'm gonna pick a horror flick.
Do it.
Leroy watch a horror flick and shit.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
You should do The Thing, man.
Oh no! Don't do The Thing without me.
Because Adam will miss it. Yeah.
It's literally my favorite movie.
Oh, okay.
So good.
It's so good.
Well, I was thinking either American Werewolf because it's like the 40th year
yes.
anniversary of American Werewolf.
Yeah,
that's good.
Or
Sounds like
Evil
an occasion.
Dead, or an Evil Dead or something. I don't know. I'll think
both are great.
Or maybe
Or
a
a
Kung
dope
Fu. I'll choose a
martial
Kung
arts
Fu
movie.
movie. Who knows?
Yeah, or a Kung Fu movie. Martial arts movie.
My pick was literally going to be Enter the Dragon. So.
You guys mentioned this Ong Bak or whatever about this tournament on the last episode of The Bullies.
Oh, yeah,
Holy shit, that movie's the shit, man.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's
Yeah, the movie's
amazing.
cool.
Like as soon as you said it, I queued it up and I was like, oh shit. But yeah, and we'll have another top 5. I don't know what we're gonna do for top 5 either. Maybe
we've thrown
events.
some ideas around.
Yeah, we've thrown some ideas.
Oh yeah, events. We did talk about
events or something. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Most of all, thanks to you guys for hanging out with this guy and doing this. It's always a lot of fun, and we're gonna do it next time.
Same geek time.
You got him that time.
Geek time.
I did get him.
You didn't even let him finish. Fuck you.
I know I did. He was all doing this number, shaking his hands and shit.
He's adding some flair, you dick.
That poor guy. That's what he gets for having such a shitty